Hey, what's going on, y'all? Thank y'all for tapping in. I wanted to share this video with you guys of Rickey Smiley. And the reason why I wanted to share this video was because I feel like it was important for us to hear him talk about what he's been currently going through. If you guys don't know, he recently lost his son, Brandon. And, he talks about what his grieving process has been like. Rickey Smiley, he's always been a favorite of mine as far as a comedian, entertainment industry. He's also a brother of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, which is why I felt do justice to wear some Nelia in this video because, I met him once and it was on like, some what's up stuff. It wasn't like we didn't have no deep conversation at the conclaves that we had. So he's a really good dude, really down to earth. What I respect about Rickey Smiley is how he is on camera is how he is in real life, which is pretty dope. So, so I'm gonna get right into the video. And if you guys have not already, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe so you know when these videos are about to drop. Cool, let's get into it.
Oh, we are back with an exclusive conversation with radio host and comedian Rickey Smiley. Rickey is here this morning with a really important message. For years, of course, he's been a daily dose of laughs for listeners of his nationally syndicated morning show. Well, today,
Hilarious.
Rickey is speaking out on television for the first time about his son, Brandon. Brandon died on January 29th, and his dad is here this morning to talk, first of all, about how he and his family are coping and about some important warnings for parents as well.
Before we even get into this, to lose somebody is very, very hard and very difficult. So I think I think his son passed away just recently. And the fact that he's like on national television talking about it shows a lot of courage. Most definitely shows a lot of courage. So I appreciate him just even talking about this. Like this wasn't like a year ago. I think it was probably earlier this year, like maybe 2 months ago or something like that. Like like that for him to get back into it is very, very, very courageous of him to even talk about this. So let's get into it.
Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Our deepest
Appreciate
condolences.
You. Yes, sir.
First of all, you get the call that no parent ever wants to get that your child has passed away. What happened, Rickey?
I was in Dallas at my apartment, getting ready to watch the playoff. His girlfriend called. She said, "Text Brandon at this number or call him." So I called. Nobody answered. I called her back. I said, "Everything okay?" She was crying, and she said that in her words, she said that he had OD'd.
Overdosed. Wow.
So I called him, and that was around 10. There was a 12 o'clock flight leaving Dallas, so I just kind of grabbed my backpack and jumped on the plane and flew to Birmingham. And I got a phone call on my way out the door from Brandon's younger sister that lives in Atlanta, Taylor, that he had passed.
Wow.
And she was crying. And yeah.
Had there been?
I'm gonna just pause really quick here because I think it's important just to a key important part of this is understanding, and this is good insight for when you guys, or if you guys have done therapy in the past, when you talk about these things, you often relive it. When you talk about your traumas and like these things that you experience, you relive it. And I can even just tell from like, him just talking about it, like it's hard to talk about it. And again, I give him all the props for like being open about it. Yeah, I think that again, a lot of courage, a lot of bravery for him to be able to talk about this. But if you guys are in your own therapy, or if you guys thinking about going to therapy, it's important to know that sometimes these conversations can be very difficult. I know he's making it look easy right now, but it can be very difficult. It can be very difficult to talk about these things. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue watching this one.
A history of drug use that you knew about?
Yeah, he was struggling with that. We had his mother and I made several attempts to try to send him to get the help that he needed, send him to rehab.
Okay.
And we thought that he was doing better. He had just joined the church, had just got baptized again, probably a month before he passed away.
Wow.
And he went in, he used, and it killed him.
Mm.
But we haven't got a toxicology report yet. So this is just what we're speculating according to his girlfriend who found him.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there was some substance abuse that was maybe had been taking place again, and nothing was confirmed, as you're stating. So I think it's very interesting that, you know, it's sometimes in recovery. Let's talk about recovery for a minute. In recovery, you can, you know, be in these stages. There's different stages of recovery, but there's stages where, you know, you can be on the up and up and things can be going well and be going okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a relapse is not going to happen. Right. And I think that the unfortunate thing, and I hope that, you know, there isn't any forms of like guilt or shame even behind this, because a lot of times we take on like that responsibility. If somebody ODs or if they commit suicide, we take on that responsibility thinking that we could have done something differently to make them change their minds or make them change their path. But it sounds like, you know, Rickey Smiley, he did, you know, put a lot of effort into, you know, helping his son, and it wasn't out of any spite. It wasn't any out of like, you know, oh, you figure it out on your own. And like, it sounded like he was very supportive. So especially going to church, getting clean, you know, setting up with these different resources as well too. So let's continue watching and see what his perspective is moving forward from this video.
Responsive.
And the cause of death, we should point out, is pending because of some additional lab studies that are needed. But you mentioned that he has had a history, and you're here this morning to talk to other parents as well who
That's tough.
may have a child who's dealing with addiction issues.
Yeah, we have to have a conversation, but I think the parents are having the conversation. The problem is getting the kids to listen to what the parents are saying. The parents are having these conversations. Some of them are uncomfortable, and we just assume that if, you know, you're in a good school district or you're in a gated community or everything's going good, that these kids are not, you know, doing drugs. You don't have to be in the hood.
Right.
That's true story.
You know, to succumb to drug abuse. So Brandon,
True story.
We had been talking to him for years. I don't know.
So a point that he made, which is interesting, was getting, you know, really getting people, I guess he's talking more so particularly with kids, like getting kids to be more receptive to help, or like, you know, being more understanding of where the parent is coming from in their recovery process. And I feel like that part is hard. And even like as a therapist, sometimes, you know, we call it countertransference, where you may want the best for your clients, or you may want the best for people that you're trying to help, but they're not being receptive of that help. You know, and I think that's the big part. It was very confusing. And, you know, sometimes, like I was saying before, there might be some underlying guilt. There might be some underlying shame. There might be some underlying, like, I could have done more, quote unquote. But, you know, this is the tough conversation that we have, especially when it comes to, again, I'm using the example of suicide as well too, because there's a lot of parallels when it comes to like overdose and suicide, when it comes to support, just in general. When it comes to support, there are a lot of parallels with that. So which ultimately is the ultimate consequence is death, right? So I think it's hard, especially when you exhaust your resources, or you show support, or you show that you really care and you love this person, but they're not receptive of it. Then what do you do? Right? Then what do you do? Because if that person is not receptive to the help, then ultimately the worst can happen, right? There's this word that kind of floats around. I'm gonna get back to the video in a minute. I just want to touch on this just for a bit. It's a hard word that we use, and it's a word that, you know, or a phrase, I should say, it's a phrase that we use, is called self-determination, right? So this is sometimes a point where you may be doing all that you can for somebody, but that person is still going to self-determine, right? Now, you also, you know, on the flip side, there might be some positives. You know, you can prolong somebody's life, like you can have them, you know, at least attempt recovery and not just have them, you know, be on the whim and be on their own. Like you can show support, but at the end of the day, you know, it's going to be the choice that they make. And I think that's tough because I even have family members and people. I had a cousin, man, he's still out there in Skid Row, helping him all I can, gave him money, all type of stuff, you know, and I, even to this day, I don't know if he's dead or alive. You know what I mean? So, uh, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard when you have family members and you give them everything and you show them support, but you know, you don't really know how or what else you can do in order for them to be receptive of what you're saying, right? So I feel Ricky where he's saying from when it comes to this. I know there's been other family members of mine as well too that have passed, and like you know maybe it's too late for them to you know either whether it's addiction, usually it's addiction, you know like drugs, alcohol, things of that nature, so overdosing or just like their bodies wear and tear on their abuse over the years. So I feel where Ricky's coming from. I appreciate again him talking about this. Let's see what else he's getting into in this video.
Why? I don't know how. His mother is clean and sober her whole life.
Mhm.
She lives in Atlanta with Brandon's bonus father, and myself. We are all clean and sober.
Mm.
And I just don't. I don't know. I hate it.
What was he like for folks?
Fun.
For folks who didn't know him.
Yeah, fun,
Yeah.
funny, always the leader, always the prankster. This picture right here, I was surprised him that weekend, took him to Busch Garden that weekend on the plane there. We were flying out to LA when I was taping BET Comic View graduation. He was a great kid. He came to live with me when he at the end of his 8th grade year. I wanted to, you know, have an opportunity to see him into his manhood.
Nice.
And
That's great.
probably about 11th or 12th grade, it started getting bad or whatever. So I thought I had control of it. Took him off to Alabama State University. Then I sent him to the University of Alabama. After that, he started doing comedy. He started doing stand-up comedy.
He wanted to be like Dad.
Yeah, he was getting, you know, he was doing some stuff with Roy Wood Jr. from Saturday Night Live, who's also from Birmingham. He had some wonderful opportunities. I had him on stage when he was 7 years old. He wanted to perform. Just a great kid, a lot of life. Every amusement park in the country, he loved roller coasters. A lot of fun.
Ricky, you've been making folks laugh for decades now. One of the funniest folks out there. How are you? How are you holding up in this moment?
I just have to. I'm doing good. God had kind of gave me a sense that you know that I'm shocked but not surprised. Or whatever. I understand what's out there.
Yeah.
I understand what's going on, and God just kind of showed me some things. So I was deep inside, kind of prepared for it. You know, but
I'm hearing a lot of resiliency in Ricky's tone. I'm hearing a lot of resiliency and, you know, and trying to push forward, even though it sounds like the grieving process has been difficult for him for sure. Yeah, that's again, I can't say it enough. That's super tough to be dealing with. It's super tough to, you know, try to move forward, you know. There's different stages in grieving, you know. Some part of it sound like the stage of grieving he might be in is the acceptance part. There isn't no right or wrong way to grieve, you know, but there sometimes can be these processes that we can identify ourselves with so that we can understand what's really going on. So sometimes it's the contemplation, the bargaining, the anger, right? A lot of us, we get stuck in the anger part. The bargaining can look like you actually trying to understand, or like maybe you wanting to die instead of that person, you know, or you know be the loss instead of like you know being the person that lost somebody, right? So there's different stages in that, and you know it sounds like right now he might in this present moment, right? Because with grief, it's not like, hey, I accept it and it's all good, you know, I accept what's going on and I can move on with my life. You know, we're all humans and there's emotions that's going to come up throughout that process that can be very hard to deal with, you know. But I hear a lot of resiliency in his delivery and his voice and wanting to, you know, to continue and to move forward. So let's go ahead and watch the last couple minutes and of this video and see what else he's really getting into in this video.
But at the same time, when it happens, you can never be prepared because that's your child.
Mm.
But I'm doing good. I still have to do my morning show. I still have to press my way through, pray my way through, lean on my spirituality, because the God that we serve is just awesome. Have given me
Amen.
peace that surpasses all understanding. And if
Amen.
anything make me cry, it's God's goodness to be able to
Mm.
get out of the bed, to be able to do my morning show, to be able to protect the rest of my
Come on
kids,
now.
my grandkids, and the rest of my family. So I just thank God for his grace and his mercy.
Come on now.
Take care of yourself, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rickey Smiley.
Amen. Amen. I like that. I like the way he ended that by, really, really putting himself in the gratitude, the gratitude mode. There's sometimes these things where we question like our faith, we question God. And, I hear a lot of my clients, they contemplate like their existence and they contemplate God and like the why, right? Sometimes that's again the bargaining part of the contemplation part, the confusion part of your grieving process, all that, right? It's very, very refreshing to hear that, people just such as Rickey are so grounded in their faith that, they understand, what God has in store for them. They understand that God is the ultimate, the ultimate sayer of what goes and what doesn't, And sometimes we have to ground ourselves in our faith. We have to ground ourselves in, things that are outside of our control and things that we may not understand, right? And that's what faith is, right? If you guys don't know, I do believe in God and I do believe in a higher power. I've also had my own spiritual battles, especially with like loss. Loss. When you lose things, you start to question God for sure. When you lose things, you start to question God for sure. And that part is what's really going to show and determine your faith. That part is what's really going to show and determine your faith is, can you still be obedient and have faith in God when these tough times come? Can you still be obedient and believe in God when these tough times come? So again, I thank you, Rickey. My heart, prayers, go out to you, your family. I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate you coming on the show and just speaking on it and what I would call such a short amount of time. But it's like you're really grounded in what's really above you, such as your faith. So I appreciate you just sharing that and being open to really talking about that. I'll also again put the original video in the link so you guys can check it out for yourself. Until next time, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys comment, subscribe, share. I want to hear you guys' feedback as well too. Like, what do you guys think about like this video, and what do you think about his grieving process and what he's going through? Until next time, y'all take care. Peace.